Today is Thursday in Holy Week, and we continue our journey with Jesus in his last hours and days. On Thursday in Holy Week, Jesus celebrated the Last Supper with his disciples. It was a Passover meal according to the Gospels of Matthew, Mark, and Luke. And there were two things that Jesus did that were memorable. One was that he washed the disciples' feet to impress upon them the importance of servant ministry. And the second thing he did was to institute the Eucharist. In a Passover meal, it's the custom to take the bread and to bless it and break it and give it out, and to take the cup of wine and to bless it and to pass it around. But Jesus did something very unusual at this Passover meal with his disciples. He took the bread and he blessed it and he broke it. But then he said, "This is my body. Take and eat it in remembrance of me." And he gave it to them to eat. And he took the cup of wine and he said, "This is my blood. Whenever you drink it, I'll be present with you." And so later on, when Jesus had died and been raised, the disciples came together and they shared bread and wine in Jesus' name. And they found that Christ was present with them in a very powerful, real way. And so that was the beginnings of the Eucharist. We find very early in the church, around the year 100 to 120, it's already being written down, the instructions for the Eucharist that we have today. So what Jesus did was he created this ritual out of the most common elements of human life: bread and wine and conversation being together. And with that ritual, he made sure that his presence would always be there with his disciples and with his followers for the church forever. Jesus didn't create an organization. He didn't ordain anyone. He didn't set up any organizational charts. All he did was to leave the Eucharist. And so if all that went away, if we didn't have any bishops or priests or deacons, if we didn't have any constitution or canons, if we didn't have any buildings or any endowment funds, we would still have the Eucharist. And that would be enough for the church to survive on. So today we remember the Last Supper of Jesus especially, and we remember how he instituted the Eucharist that became a sacrament that is an outward and visible sign of an inward and spiritual grace. And the Eucharist is so precious to us, it means so much to us. It brings us healing and forgiveness and peace and strength. And today, on Maundy Thursday, we remember how Jesus instituted the Eucharist and began this sacrament forever. Thanks.